always a ton to talk about following Kirk Ferentz's Tuesday availability, especially after a 40-point win at home. But Kirk Ferentz did break the record on Saturday, and he broke some news on Tuesday regarding formerly injured running back Kamari Moulton. We'll talk about the news and the trade-off that Iowa is having to deal with Kamari back potentially, someone else out. We'll talk about it in just a second. But first, as you can see, I'm wearing Under the Kitchen's official t-shirt. You can be sure to get your Hawkeye prints, your signed and unsigned Hawkeye authentic prints via Under the Kitchen. Visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook. Their website, underthekitchen.square.site. Support our sponsors, a great Hawkeye brand, Hawkeye company. Under the Kitchen. Visit underthekitchen.square.site. So Kirk Ferentz announcing on Tuesday that running back Kamari Moulton, who has been out since early in the Albany game week 1, is expected to return week 4 for Iowa's night game in Piscataway against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Here's the official quote from Kirk Ferentz earlier today in his press conference. He says, and I quote, "It looks like Kamari has a chance to be back." He went on to say he worked yesterday and today and looked fine. Now, Kirk did add that Xavier Williams, who had a big game against Albany and then played extensively against UMass, was dinged up in the UMass game, and he is expected to be out. Kirk does not think it's long-term, but that is a blow for Iowa's running back room. Kirk kind of talked about how you'd rather not have 1 for 1. You'd rather have 2 for none, right? So Iowa will lose Xavier, a young budding back, but they'll get a more veteran back, Kamari, back in the rotation, and a guy who Kirk brought up as a guy who can really bust some runs off, and that's a potential add for that running back room. I think he's probably got a gear that maybe Xavier Williams does not yet have, and he's more of your all-around back, a guy who can kind of do it all, not afraid to lower his pads, and has also gained quite a bit of weight since a nice showing early in his career. So that's positive. Sounds like Reese Vanderzee is at least another week off. I think based on Kirk's comments, he didn't rule out the possibility that Reese could come back prior to the bye week, which comes after Indiana in week 5. It sounds like, though, he'll be back after that, which is positive. I mean, Reese Vanderzee was seen prior to the UMass game walking without a boot. And we talked about that when he initially got hurt. It sounded like he was out at least a month, possibly 2 months. And at this point, it appears that he's closer to the 1 month mark than he is 2 months. So that's really positive. And Iowa needs help offensively. Jarrett Bowie, I know I've had some people ask about Jarrett's status. He's just been dealing with soft tissue injuries for quite some time, been off the field, been on the field, and he's just not been good enough to go. Hopefully Iowa will get him back as well, but they're pretty healthy at receiver once they get Vanderzee back. Basically everyone else, Seth Anderson's healthy, Jacob Gill, Sam Phillips, Dayton Howard, go down the list. Caden Weegan had a couple of touchdowns, one on special teams, one on the ground this past Saturday. So how will Kamari help them on Friday? I think it's a great game to get him back because I think Iowa will rely on the run game. It's a Rutgers team that has been susceptible to the run. If you missed my preview that was published late last night, I'll throw it up here in the corner and we'll talk about this game with none other than Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, on our Iowa channel at 4 p.m. Central Time Tuesday. I'll mention that again here at the end of this video. But I talked about Rutgers giving up yardage on the ground. They've been really good offensively, and they haven't been horrible against the pass, but I think the biggest hole defensively is on the ground. And sounds like they're dealing with some issues up front offensively on the offensive line as well as far as injuries are concerned, but they've not been great stopping the run. So Iowa's been really good in general on the ground offensively. Offensive line has dominated at least 2 of the 3 matchups. And then against Iowa State, there were times in that game, especially second and third quarters, where I felt like Iowa did dominate the trenches. It just wasn't enough in the end. And it took too long to get going. You can't get down by 10 points if your passing game is almost non-existent. So yes, passing game is still a big storyline, but getting Kamari back, I don't know that he'll be the workhorse, but I think people are somewhat disappointed in Terrell Washington. I mean, I'm not necessarily disappointed, but I know some people have asked me. Somebody said they made the comment on Saturday after the game against UMass. Hey, I'm tired of the Terrell Washington experience. Let's move on. I'm not to that point. To me, he looked really good week 1, has not looked great since. But the good news is Jazz Patterson has looked good. Now you get Kamari Moulton back. I still think Moulton will assume the top spot, and then it'll be a mix between Washington and Patterson until they get Xavier Williams back. We even saw a little Brevin Dahl late in that game. By the way, it was interesting. The depth chart was released on Monday for the week 3 game notes. And if you looked at that depth chart, you'll have noticed that Xavier Williams was listed on the depth chart and Kamari Moulton was not listed on the depth chart. So it was exactly the week 2 depth chart. It matched the week 2 depth chart. And now a day later, Kirk says, no, we just flipped those 2 guys. One guy's healthy, one guy's not. So that kind of tells you, if you didn't already realize that at times, whatever that depth chart says, don't take it for a whole lot. I wouldn't be shocked if Reese Vanderzee remains off the depth chart until we see him in a game. I don't know why you'd tip your cap on that anyways. Kirk Ferentz, I don't think, is much of a gamesmanship type of guy, but don't be surprised if that depth chart isn't real worth monitoring. It's always something early in the season that is notable, but we get more information on Tuesdays and certainly on Saturdays, or in the case of this week, a Friday night out east. Again, I will be live with Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Central Time, folks. Hit that thumbs up button. Thank you for being here for this quick news update. And, of course, live after the game on Saturday, it's Iowa postgame with Coach Don Patterson and yours truly right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm.